After sending a beacon to all remaining Jedi survivors to return to the Jedi Temple, which was actually a trap, Darth Vader headed for the Jedi Council chamber, aiming for more blood on his blade. Opening the tall doors, Vader sees a group of younglings hidden behind some of the chairs. One initiate named Sors Bandeam steps forward, asking Vader to assist them, not knowing Skywalker turned to the dark side. Vader's eyes sharpen, and reigniting his blade, slaughters the whole clan without remorse. But what if Vader decided to save the younglings? How would this alter Star Wars history? Well, as you're about to see, a lot will change. Vader walked forward, 1 step, 2 steps. His clones behind him mirrored his steps with mechanical synchronicity. Vader swiped open the doors to the council chambers with a motion of his hand. In the corner, huddled close together, were a group of younglings. But it didn't matter to Vader. Jedi were Jedi, and this clan would fall at his blade. As a young boy stepped forward, begging for his help, Vader reignited his blade. Raising it above his head, he aimed to swipe down, but his arms froze, as if in a state of paralysis. Perhaps these younglings would be of use to him. After defeating the Emperor, he would not be able to rule the galaxy by himself. Signalling to his clones, Vader asked them to shepherd the younglings outside, whilst he dealt with the remaining Jedi. Doing a quick sweep of the meditation chambers, he expected to find Jedi Master Shakti, but to his fury, she had escaped. He would deal with her later. Moving swiftly through the other parts of the temple, he dismissed Sindralig and his 2 apprentices before Clone Commander gave him an all clear. Behind him, his master emerged, and bowing to him, Sidious tasked Vader with eliminating the separatists on Mustafar. Leaving Sidious to clean up the political mess, Vader quietly took a small gunship and headed for Mustafar, with his younglings protected by the clones. He had wanted to thrust his lightsaber into Sidious right there and then, but knew he still had some use. Eventually reaching the lava-covered planet, Vader went alone to the Kliega Corp mining facility. Once inside the conference room, Vader wasted no time, and ruthlessly cut down the entire Separatist Council. Heading back to his gunship, Vader stopped in his tracks, as a heavily pregnant Padme rushed towards him, telling him of Obi-Wan's recollection of Anakin kidnapping younglings. Vader couldn't help but scowl at Padme's statement. He had no intention of kidnapping younglings. Ignoring Padme's pleas, Obi-Wan steps forward from Padme's starfighter, resulting in Vader igniting his blade. Padme continues to beg them to stop, but the once Master and Padawan ignore her and begin their duel. Matching each other strike for strike, Vader and Obi-Wan move through the complex, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Finally reaching a lava bank, Vader paused. Every fibre in his being wanted to jump over Obi-Wan and strike him down, but the thought of leaving the younglings without a teacher soon overwhelmed these thoughts. He would deal with the traitorous Jedi later. So using the Force, Vader throws several large rocks in Obi-Wan's direction, before heading down the lava river. Speaking into his comlink, Vader orders his clones to pick him up, just beside the now melting mining facility. Heading back to Coruscant, Vader moves into the Senate building, where he greets his master, who had just failed to kill Grandmaster Yoda. Taking a step closer, Vader thrusts his blue lightsaber into the stomach of Sidious. Or so he thought. Looking at his lightsaber, he finds Sidious's hand absorbing its energy with the Force, with a look of smugness across his face. Before Vader could react, Sidious effortlessly disarmed Vader with his hand and sent torrents of Force lightning towards his apprentice, leaving him creasing on the floor in pain. Vader staggered to his feet, his eyes now burning a hateful yellow. But he knew, if he attacked his master again, he would be even more severely punished. Back on Mustafar, Obi-Wan also stumbled to his feet, feeling relieved that he had not killed Anakin. He didn't think he would have been able to do that. Moving back to his ship, he sees a distraught Padme eager to leave this horrible planet. Reconvening with Bail Organa and Yoda and Polis Massa, Padme gives birth to Luke and Leia, but this time she survives, as she had not been Force choked, and maintains her will to live. As years pass, the mysterious kidnapping of the younglings becomes somewhat of an afterthought for the Jedi, but for Vader, they became the very focal point of his attention. Passing on all of his knowledge in the Force, learned from his time as a Padawan, and under the tutelage of Darth Sidious, the younglings would grow to become powerful Sith acolytes. Vader would struggle to keep his plans from his master, but he would manage it, until one day, Sidious could sense a great disturbance in the Force. Sitting in his throne room, in one swift motion, Sidious swivels his chair, and shakes the entire room with his fury, causing the royal guards to fall to the floor, all of their bones breaking from the impact. Sidious silently glided out of the room. The treachery of his apprentice would not go unpunished. Moving to his shuttle, Sidious allowed the Force to guide him to his apprentice. But as he reached the planet of Coruscant, where he had first anointed his apprentice, the Force presence had disappeared. Sidious slammed the controls in anger and ordered all of his agents to search for his apprentice. How had he learnt of such an ability, and how could he not sense him? Sidious lowers his shuttle to the ground and begins to prowl the surrounding area, thinking that Vader could not have travelled far. Sidious entered what was formerly a Jedi Temple, but was now a symbol for the rule of the Empire. Moving through the variety of rooms and levels, Sidious found his way to the Holocron Vault, where he knew the Jedi had left some of their artifacts. But to his annoyance, the vault was empty. It seemed that the betrayal by his apprentice was better planned than he had anticipated. Sidious would need to move quickly. Thinking about the locations of some of his other holocrons, Sidious reorganised his trip to scour darkside planets, for he knew he had looted most of the others of their artifacts. Sidious eventually arrives on the planet of Malachor, having not received further information from his agents. All appeared to be normal on this deserted planet, but Sidious could sense otherwise. Making imposing strides towards the Sith Temple, Sidious jumped into the chasm, where the remnants of the Great Scourge of Malachor could be found. Looking ahead to the normally dormant temple, Sidious is suddenly blinded by the brightest of lights as the temple begins to explode. Knowing the damage that could be caused were the super weapons to fully activate, Sidious shields the hailstorm of debris with his hands before moving towards the focal point of the destruction. Hiding behind a gravestone, Sidious uses his immense power and extracts the holocron from the obelisk. Sidious continues to shield himself with the Force before the dust finally settles. Peering over the gravestone, he sees the unmistakable figure of his former apprentice. At the mere sight of him, Sidious surged forward with Force speed, his lightsabers ignited, but Vader merely stood there with a grin on his face. Before Sidious could react, lightsabers flew in from all directions, and suddenly, Sidious was surrounded. Attempting to block all of the lightsabers, Sidious's blades move in a frenzy, but he is unable to cope. The sheer quantity of lightsabers tears through Sidious, leaving him to rot alongside the remains of the temple. Vader praises his Sith acolytes for luring the Sith Lord. News of Sidious's demise broke quickly, and Vader and the acolytes had to work hard to ensure that the propaganda covered up the real reason behind the fall of Sidious. However, the Jedi were not fooled. They knew that now was the perfect time to strike, whilst the Empire was adjusting to its new leader. This forces Luke, Obi-Wan and Yoda to come out of hiding a lot earlier than they wanted to, resulting in Luke's training being far from complete. Putting these thoughts aside, the Jedi head to the mostly constructed Death Star, ignoring the warnings from the rebellion. Without any kind of clearance code or Imperial starship, the Jedi have to allow themselves to be lured in by the tractor beam, fortunate that they were not immediately annihilated by the super laser. Upon landing, the Jedi allow for the stormtroopers to enter their cruiser, and immediately, the sound of muffled screams could be heard through the ship. Putting the stormtroopers' blasters in holsters, Obi-Wan and Luke step out first, and begin to deflect the shots of the stormtroopers. Yoda then finally emerges, and force pushes 3 lines of stormtroopers onto the floor, before igniting his own blade. Attempting to search for the dark presence of Vader, Yoda feels something familiar, but can't quite put a finger on it. Navigating their way through the nest of ladders and scaffolding, the trio feel darkness envelop them as Vader emerges. His lightsaber ignited, Vader circles the Jedi, shooting daggers at Obi-Wan with his stare. Luke is finally the first to attack, but Vader easily sweeps him away with a swing of his blade. Vader then attacks Obi-Wan, whose old age begins to show, with his defences not what they once were. Yoda begins to take over from the tiring Obi-Wan, somersaulting his way over the top of Vader, but Vader swatted the attacks away with a smirk on his face. Yoda stepped back, and Vader used this moment to use his hand and swipe open several doors with the Force. The Jedi suddenly felt themselves surrounded by a dozen or so red blades. Yoda and Obi-Wan attempt to combine Force Wave, but the blades failed to move, as Vader countered it with his own use of the Force. Commanding the former Jedi Younglings to attack, Obi-Wan is the first to fall, as in a desperate attempt to protect Luke, his defences are toppled. Seeing Obi-Wan fall, Luke's previously caged anger is unleashed, and he swings wildly at the Younglings, his increase in speed causing them to step back. Vader switches Luke's focus towards him, and instantly, Luke's unpolished defences are exposed, with Vader dismembering him with several overhead blows, leaving Luke forever oblivious to Vader's true identity. Yoda is now alone and trapped. Getting a good look at the faces of Sith acolytes, Yoda now realises what he had felt earlier. He recognised their faces from the security footage of the Jedi Temple, and now it was his failure to protect them which would prove to have fatal consequences. Sitting in the middle of the cold floor, Yoda meditates for one final time, before becoming one with the Force. At last, the Younglings had revenge over those who had failed them, and for Vader, his one choice to save the Younglings proved to have altered the fate of the galaxy. That is it for What If Vader Saves the Younglings. As usual, please like this video and subscribe for more tips, and leave a comment on what if you'd like to see next. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.